The way most of us think about Star Wars, there's the light side of the Force and the dark side of the Force. One side of the Force is good, one is bad, and they're always fighting. And we usually get the impression that the light side of the Force is not any stronger than the dark side of the Force. This is very much like ancient Zoroastrianism and ancient Manichaeism. Manichaeism was this cult or religious movement. The best word is heresy. It was this heresy, an offshoot of Christianity, also to an extent an offshoot of an earlier heresy called Gnosticism. It was also influenced by Zoroastrianism. According to the Manichaeans, God is good, God is powerful, but God is not all-powerful. God is fighting evil. Evil is the force which is opposed to God in the universe, and the two are always clashing. And in classical Zoroastrianism, as I understand it, it's much the same. Now, Augustine, in refuting the Manichaeans, spends the first several years of his literary career writing books about why the Manichaeans are wrong, and why they don't get Christianity right, and why their philosophy is incoherent, and explaining that the truth about God is all-powerful, and the truth about evil is not a thing in itself, it's a corruption of a thing. Good exists, and what exists is to that extent good. Evil is a corruption of what exists. It's not a thing in itself, it's a lack of goodness in things. It's a lack of the goodness things were created with. So evil and God are not equally matched. They're not on the same terms. Something can be all good, like God, or a created thing that God created good that has not fallen away, that has not become corrupted. If something were completely evil, it would cease to exist. Evil is parasitic on the good, as disease is parasitic on health. If a disease in my body becomes so extreme that it takes away my life, the disease will also go away. Disease can only exist when there is some health. And evil is like that. Evil depends on good. There can only be some evil where there is some good. Increase the evil to the point where there's no good, and the evil itself will cease to exist. Also, other analogies. Evil is to good what dark is to light. Evil is to good what cold is to heat. It's not a thing in itself, it's a lack of a thing. Now this is all Augustine responding to the Manichaeans and explaining a better Christian analysis of evil. Aquinas and Boethius and others will follow him in these regards. Now, what about Star Wars? Well, I used to think that the idea of Star Wars was more or less the Manichaean idea, or maybe some other idea where there's the good side and there's the light side of the light side and the dark side of the Force, but the good side is stronger or something. It's finite, perhaps not omnipotent, but it's stronger than the dark side. And someone on Ricochet.com gave me this idea that maybe there's no light side of the Force. There's the dark side of the Force, and then there's just the Force. And the Force is good, and evil is a corruption of the good that is in the Force. And this person pointed out that in the films, you don't hear them talking about the light side of the Force. I don't think you hear it at all. There's the Force, and there's the dark side of the Force. But the dark side is not a side of the Force to be distinguished from the light side. It's what happens when you take part of the Force and corrupt it. Or it's what happens when you take one aspect of the Force and try to remove it from the other aspects, and then it becomes bad. But it doesn't become bad by being a thing unto itself. It becomes bad by being a good thing gone wrong, a good thing corrupted, a good aspect of reality separated from the other good aspects of reality that it subsists alongside with. It's not that good and bad are equal, are portions of reality both contributing to the whole. No, there's just the whole, and the whole is good, and bad is a corruption of the good. And the two are not equal. And I think this might really work to explain the philosophy of Star Wars, though I'm sure there's a good bit of research to do in this area. I might briefly note, there's this episode of the original series of Star Trek called The Enemy Within, where a transporter malfunction produces an alternate Kirk. And at first it looks like he's the evil Kirk. There's the evil Kirk and the good Kirk. But eventually you find out this evil Kirk is not evil per se. He's Kirk's, I won't use Freudian terms, I will use Platonic terms. He's Kirk's thumotic aspect. He's the spirited part of Kirk's soul, separated from everything else. So he looks evil if you look at him carelessly, but if you study the situation carefully, you find out that evil Captain Kirk is actually good, is a portion of good Captain Kirk cut off from the whole. It's a good thing that got corrupted. Evil, inherent evil, does not exist. Inherent evil is a myth. Evil is a corruption of the good. It's what happens when some good thing is separated from the whole of which it is a part. I think you find something very similar in The Enemy Within to this idea in Star Wars. And I commend this to your consideration. Like I said, I'm sure there's plenty of research to do in the area, and I confess I have not done it. If you do, let me know.